first one that has. And the way he pits people against one another is all designed to divide the country, divide people, not put them together.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
Lobbyists aren't bad people. Special interest groups are not bad people. But guess what? They're corrosive. People who accept money from them aren't bad people, but it's human nature. You go out, Lynn, and bundle $250,000 for me, all legal, and then you call me after I'm elected and say, Joe, I'd like to come and talk to you about something. You didn't buy me, but it's human nature. You helped me. I'm going to say, sure, Lynn, come on in.
Now is the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has that big stick. I promise you. This election year, the choice is clear. One man stands ready to deliver change we desperately need. A man I'm proud to call my friend. A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did, and back in those days, you sure how things had changed. One of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a baby cap. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain, he folded up, he said, you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, you may cut me, man, but I'm gonna wrap this chain around your head. So I walked out with the chain. And I walked up to my car. And those days used to remember the straight race. You just bang them on the curb, get them rusty, put them in a rain barrel, get them rusty. And it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
fact is that what happens now is that we, in fact, have to fundamentally change the culture of how women are treated. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. That saved billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air.
Does nothing to tackle the number one job facing the middle class, and it happens to be, as Barack says, a three-letter word: jobs. J-O-B-S.
The younger generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break. We can speak out and be more straightforward. I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
Hillary Clinton is as qualified or more qualified than I am to be Vice President of the United States of America. Let's get that straight. And quite frankly, it might have been a better pick than me.
I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself and the men in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back in your 40s, son.
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night.
Well, folks, eliminate one tax loophole out of $1.6 trillion, $1.4 trillion. Out of $1.4 billion. It's hard to even say it so much.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
I want to be clear. Let him go. Let him go. Look, the reason I'm running is because I've been around a long time and I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on, let's do push-ups together, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do.
Damn liar, man. That's not true. I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank. And by the way, it's cost a lot of money. It cost about $740 billion over 10 years.
Ever run for political office again?
No.
I know I'm called middle class Joe. It's not meant as a compliment, means I'm not sophisticated. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over fact.
Senator Biden, words have in the past gotten you in trouble. Words that were borrowed and words that some found hateful. An editorial in the Los Angeles Times said, in addition to his uncontrolled verbosity, Biden is a gaffe machine. Can you reassure your voters in this country that you would have the discipline you would need on the world stage, Senator?
Yes.
My name is Joe Biden, and I love ice cream. What President Trump has done in going his spreading of racism, the way he deals with color of their skin, their national origin, where they're from, is absolutely sickening. No sitting president has ever done this. Never, never, never. No Republican president has done this. No Democratic president. We've had racists, and they've existed, they've tried to get elected president. He's the first one that has. And the way he pits people against one another is all designed to divide the country, divide people, not put them together.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. Lobbyists aren't bad people. Special interest groups are not bad people. But guess what? They're corrosive. People who accept money from them aren't bad people. But it's human nature. You go out, Lynn, and bundle $250,000 for me, all legal, and then you call me after I'm elected and say, Joe, I'd like to come and talk to you about something. You didn't buy me, but it's human nature. You help me. I'm going to say, sure, Lynn, come on in. Now is the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you. Election year, the choice is clear. One man stands ready to deliver change we desperately need. A man I'm proud to call my friend. A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America. That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air.
I love kids jumping on my lap.
The fact is that what happens now is that we in fact have to fundamentally change the culture of how women are treated. No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it.
three-letter word, jobs, J-O-B-S.
Hello. How are you all doing? We're back. What's going on? Has anyone subscribed? Hold on, let me check. I don't think so. Cremulant based? Cremulant based, thank you. Exit dose, thank you. I believe that's it. Once again, we're back. Sorry for the delay. Remember when Lib was I was not libbing out. I don't think that counts as libbing out. But I'm back once again. I've never been a lib once in my life. What's my secret? I sold my soul, unfortunately. So that's gonna be a little bit painful later. But for now, yeah, we're back. I got highlights. Although I streamed since I got highlights, haven't I? How much did they cost? A couple $100, I think. It was like 300, 400 Canadian. I think 300. They're very expensive. Next time, I think I will be going platinum blonde. Just to feel something. So that will be cool. Although I feel like I shouldn't do it too soon, because I just dyed them. So you don't want to. My 6'4", 5'1", I'm neither of those things. Apparently, I know it's hard to comprehend. Live Targaryen era, that would be cool. Yeah, just go like silver, like fully silver. Yeah, I should do that. They can bleach it in stages. What does that mean? So it doesn't dry. I don't know what that means, but the lady I went to is good. What's been going on since I've been back? So I just did a bunch of chores, and usually I take the 20 minutes before I start the stream to meditate in a cave, to gain a sense of oneness with the universe. But I wasn't doing that. I was cleaning. So I'm completely. That's why it takes 20 minutes for me to start the stream. It's like there's a loading meter that has to like charge up in terms of like calm and peace with the universe, and then I can like talk about this. But not today. Did you dig out of the cave yourself? Yes. Live augur. Yeah, I was reading the leaves or whatever the fuck augurs do to try to understand what's gonna happen. But today I don't know what's gonna happen. I didn't read the leaves. I didn't look at which way the birds flew or whatever shit they were doing. Okay, the drone stuff is really cool. We're gonna do a QA episode on it because like we have to, but it is just nothing. Like we're really cooked. Like we're so incredibly cooked. It is just nothing, right? Like, am I crazy? Like I looked at that and immediately I was like, there's nothing going on. Like it's just not like there isn't even an object of study. It's just the thing that happens normally is happening, which is that sometimes there's shit in the sky that you don't know what it is. Guinevere, thank you. The friendship application. That should be the form. Actually, I should advertise that again. I'm trying to do like a life advice segment. So you should submit your application to it, and it has to be interesting. It can't just be something it's gotta be. Don't just ask for life advice. You have to be in a goofy or zany situation. Which it makes sense to me why Hassan does this every couple months, because it's hard to here we go. Shorten it. You should submit it if you have any crazy life situations you want me to give you advice on. Make your problems into my content. And you're not allowed to lie unless it's convincing. In which case, I don't I'm not going to be able to fucking tell. Yeah, so the light thing, it seems like the take that I wasn't like the Ted Kaczynski like uh industrial society is a mistake black pill take is that the reason why this is happening is because usually people don't look up at the sky, especially in fucking New Jersey. Because like why would you do that? Because of all the smog. You can't actually see the wonderful lights of the universe that God created for us to admire or whatever. So like people don't do that anymore. So they're finally like, oh, I saw in fucking OAN or whatever. I saw on Twitter, I guess that's the new one for people to get this information, that there's crazy stuff in the sky. And like as someone who never bothers to look in the sky, because why the fuck would I? What's the point of looking into the night sky? I am seeing some shit that I wouldn't have expected. There's a light that's moving in a kooky way. Chris Christie's New Jersey's only celestial object. That's true. Yeah, the fact that it's like I do wonder what portion of like because Congress people like members of the government are being like, oh, we need to look into this. We need an inquiry into the Pentagon or whatever. I do wonder what portion of them are like, I mean, I'm representing these people. If I ignore it, they're going to say that I don't care about whatever fake bullshit that they're worried about. And what percentage of it is like, like that one congressman who was like, it's an Iranian mothership. Like which like a mothership is such a funny way of putting that. It's like, like the Iranians are aliens. Like they have a big ass fucking drone that smaller drones are like docking off and like it's such a funny image. At what point in the world has like human technology produced a mothership that's like strategically powerful and important for the military? Like the mothership is not a concept. Like, it's a purely sci-fi concept, right? I guess technically an aircraft carrier is sort of a mothership in a certain way, but motherships I feel like have to be flying. You know what I mean? It's just it's Shia magic. They're harnessing the power of the hidden Mati. Spudley, thank you. They found him, the Mati's hidden. They found him, and he gave them powers. Why don't we make fatherships? That's because the family court is modern woke society. That the family court always makes the tiny baby ships go with their mother instead of their father. They're trying to emasculate the Western male. That's my theory, at least. I need to charge my phone. Yeah, what else has been going on? So it is fake though. Like I was trying to find any sort of actual content that is other than like the thing that you do, like when you're like 15, you look up into the sky and you're like, oh, I don't really understand the lights there. Isn't that kind of spooky? Like it is just that at a mass level. I mean, this is how fascism happens. Basically, is you have a populace who's like this, because you can just trick them into anything. Like that you can get them to believe a bunch of absurd shit if you're not connected or tethered to the world. A lot of Congress UFO stuff is obfuscation for new drone surveillance testing. Maybe. It's not impossible. Yeah, a lot of it I saw was just planes though. Like it was like, well, there are ships. Like, or there are, that's a Freudian slip. I'm trying to cover this up. I can't. My Langley assignment for the week. There are things in the sky, and some of them might be drones, but the indication that it's like at a only just the syllabus allegations. Oh yeah, that was funny. I put on some undergrad course, I think. Although I don't know, that seems like a college syllabus, and it's my chapter. The funniest thing I saw with this is that some people were like mad about it. Which this is like, are you telling them to read all of the Sublime Object? Because maybe that's a grad level course. But which is a very funny thing to be like jealous about. Good chapter, thank you. Does Lizard have a name? I don't know. It used to be hard-oned with a D, because that was just the dancing lizard emote on Twitch. But I don't know. I don't think so. You're on my syllabus because I've been studying you. Thank you. We're gonna do one on the drone stuff. Yeah. Hex. Thank you. Yeah, it's a funny thing. I need more people to be like, you're mad about academic stuff, so I can the haters equal motivators thing. I do understand it, because it's like, it's such a silly thing. Am I a permanent host? Thank you. I've always been a permanent host for 4 years, 3 years. How long have we been doing that? How long have I been doing that? Right. The lizard is named Liv Edgar. I have a different secret name that you're not allowed to know. Yeah. What else? Okay. So that's fake. As far as I can tell, there's no indication that it's even actually a reaction to a change in phenomena. That like there is any more unidentified flying objects in New Jersey. I'm still not convinced that that's actually true. But regardless, like, everyone is going insane about it. Which is, yeah, it's not good. It's unfortunate. But then what else is going on? That's that problem solved, I guess. And then there's the government shutdown stuff with Elon, which it is. Oh, I forgot to put the Biden count back. It is genuinely surprising to me that, like, the headline, you know, Trump allows billionaire who influences him to cut funding on child cancer research, is like, the fact that that's not a headline that like dooms your political party does feel like something new. I don't know, like, what were the Bush gaffes? Like, it really is the thing of like, one of the, I guess, negative components, one of the effects of like mainstream media not being a thing anymore, is everyone just gets their like information from wherever the fuck. Like, it's funny because it's like mainstream media guts a lot of like local journalistic reporting, centralizes news, and then people get tired of it, and then it becomes decentralized, but like in a way in which there's no real like way of testing the legitimacy of information. Like, it's decentralized in a medium where the only thing that matters is like more clicks, like where the profit incentive is dominant. And so it's not like local reporters and journalists who have some sort of, you know, specialty, I guess. What is the word I'm looking for? It's just whoever the fuck. So we're finding like the worst way of decentralizing information. Because it's still fundamentally centralized through these like institutions like Twitter. But it's done so in Facebook especially. I mean, I guess Twitter especially too. Are we talking about politicians? I guess so. The Blavatsky slop. Is there Blavatsky stuff? Is there Theosophy stuff recent? Is there a news headline I missed about Theosophy being relevant? Because that would be, honestly, it's like not even esoteric, and like, it's like, that's a little normal. That's like not esoteric in a way that I expected Elon to. It's trending on TikTok. Wait, why? Just because people were like, just found out about this Theosophy thing. Did I miss this? Theosophies, all of these, I don't understand what any of these things you guys are saying mean. No, I don't think there's anything. That would be honestly theosophy would be like at this point it would feel like a bit of a relief. It's like people are focusing on things that are less insane than I expected. It's not like Elon retweeting, videos of Ted Kaczynski with the Sonorand or some shit. It's something that's slightly normal. But no, of course not. I can't. And then Elon is supporting the AFD, which I guess is not a surprise. It's definitely still esoteric. I mean, that was the point. It's ironic. Because things are so esoteric that the thing that calls itself esoteric is normal. Theosophy is directly linked. It's more indirect, I would say. In the sense that like all the early Nazi guys were like, this is cool, but this is cool, this like unlocking ancient knowledge or whatever. But what we're gonna do is specifically unlock ancient Aryan knowledge. Like they had a weird what was the term for it? It was like the Ananarb initially. No, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Ariosophy or something. It was like a weird offshoot of theosophy in German society. That was like, we're gonna get extra racist with it. Theosophy is weird because there are parts of it where it's like that's kind of a liberal, like the theosophy position was against colonization and like British rule in India, although again like a weird like paternalistic, like I understand these ancient Hindu thought in a way that they didn't. It is Ariosophy, isn't it? Yeah, it's called Ariosophy. Discover the ancient wisdom of and it was like a weird Austria interwar thing. It's definitely, I don't know, when you start to get into that, like, it's interesting. You kind of see this in a really tame way in the circles that like Luigi are the alleged shooter, hashtag Luigi innocent, was in the like, I don't know, what are all the weird acronyms they have for that? I guess this is a Biden moment. Like TPOT or whatever, the weird biohacking EAC stuff, is that there's this like cold hard rationality, but then also a weird esoteric kind of mysticism-esque thing. And it's really hard. I talk about this in the episode about him for QAA. Nambla? I don't think... What would Nambla have to do with this? Are you saying Luigi was associated with Nambla? Yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think the weird unifying component of that is that they want to be contrarian. I think in the contemporary context, like why these guys who are doing like biohacking stuff, who are like evolutionary psychologists or who like EvoPsych, are like, let's look at the data on this to understand society. It's like an empirical venture. Or also like, oh, there's something about like, they like Gnosticism. I feel like that's common in those sort of circles. Is that it's like new atheism became too hegemonic culturally in certain areas, that it was like, well, now initially it was like, oh, well, we're opposing hegemonic status of Christianity. And then that was kind of dislodged in certain cultural areas, especially like, I guess like Silicon Valley, which is where a lot of these guys come from. It's like tech pro stuff. So it's like, oh, well, we have to loop back around to Christianity. It's very Reddit. It's, yeah, exactly, Mike. Yeah. I don't know why. I guess a part of it is just reality can be whatever I want it to be. That's where it is with the Nazis, like early Nazi, like esoteric stuff, is that there's certain components of like invoking the institution of science that is beneficial. That's like this, look at this cold hard truth that says that, you know, the line has to go up, that we're doing it. Technology will save us. It'll give us more of a capacity to dominate others, and that's good. But then, like, there's parts of cold hard truth that we don't like, and it's like the inability for that to give you any sense of like what people might refer to as like spiritual fulfillment, I guess, which I don't think has to be a spiritual thing. It can be like an artistic aesthetic thing. But if you see like people like Elon, they're incapable of any sort of aesthetic instinct. Like that is the funny thing about someone like in Elon Musk, is that like he could not possibly, like, he wouldn't understand good art if it punched him in the face. He has all this wealth and he can't really properly appreciate it. He just wants slop. He's like, yeah, what was the thing? He's trying to found like an AI game studio. Yeah, the appearance of science while being a fraudulent enterprise. Because it's like, well, the good thing about science is that I can use it to control other people. Like, that's the part of it, is the controlling others. And then all of the stuff that's superfluous to that, we don't like, which is obviously an inherently contradictory image of the world. The unifying component is like the ego. It's like, what can I use to strengthen my own position, which is obviously like the kind of classic practical reason of the capitalist. You know, artistic stuff, whatever, doesn't matter. It's not really true. It doesn't really mean much because I can't use it to dominate others to make more money. It's the kind of that logic taken to its rational, or I guess you could say irrational conclusion. What was the thing? I was seeing a bit of that. I haven't been on Twitter really at all. But the thing where people were getting Grok to say like insane stuff, where he's like, hey Grok, what's 10 plus 10? And Grok would respond like, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. Nothing fucking matters. I want to kill myself. How is that still going? Like, because you can post Grok results on Twitter, right? Is this just a thing of like, before you type in like, Grok, respond to this to anything I say in the future? Grok is jailbroken, it'll sext you. You can get, that's awesome. That's really funny. I assume that's like an industry. I guess it isn't with ChatGPT, because you can't do that with them. It's like, you know, people, I feel like it's a woman thing mainly. It's like, can you write me smut? Can I get smut from you, Grok? Can you write a weird roleplay for me? I don't know. I wonder, you think there's like, I'm saying this like it wouldn't be me, but you think there's like smut purists who are like, I don't want any of this AI generated bullshit. I like, the point of smut is it has a soul to it. It's written by someone with a libido who's horny in a specific particular way. There are? Okay, yeah, that's good. I hope so. I'm one of them. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Yeah, I mean, I guess I wonder if, because it's really clear when something is written. It's still clear to me when something is written with AI in like certain technical, especially contexts. And we're seeing this more. It's easier and easier to say this as it becomes clear that like, especially like specifically chatbot AI stuff is kind of hitting its like peak. You know, like there's especially like Silicon Tech, like venture capitalist logic of like, it's gonna double each time. Like, it's just gonna get better and better and better at the same rate. And then in 10 years, we'll get a whole human being from it. And you won't even have to hire people for fake email jobs. Chelsea Victory, thank you. But have I played Detroit Become Human? I played it a little bit. It seemed kind of insane, wasn't it? It's like American racial relations, but they're robots. And then there's like a robot Martin Luther King. Deadpan Drew, thank you for the prime. It's like, it's funny in a way it doesn't want to be. Is that a proper rating? Robot Malcolm X in 1, let's go. Yeah, is it Robot Rose? Yeah, they literally sit in the back of the bus. It's like insane. It's so insane. That's, yeah. There's a certain Silicon Valley logic. I don't know. There's a certain like Silicon Valley logic of like, yeah, it's gonna double and double and double. And they've kind of had to like deal with the fact that that's obviously not true. I love like every time I see like a headline about Sam Altman, because they kind of want him to be like the new Musk, I think. Like Musk has a bit more liability than Altman. But like every quote of his is like contradictory. Like sometimes he's like really worried about the negative effects of AI. It's going to destroy the universe. Sometimes he's like, well, it's going to like cause post scarcity. We're going to do these amazing things. And then sometimes he's like, it's a chatbot. I don't know. Like, yeah, we're going to have to deal with the fact it's, it's just, it talks to you. It does your homework for you. Which I guess is just a product. It's funny how like a lot of that type of speech is a product of like what you tell an investor. Bachelor Alive, thank you. My hug's great, thank you. Like, that's just what you tell investors. That like, but tech pros have heard it, and then they start to believe it, and then it's like, well, that becomes like the logic of a lot of people, especially like people who are more detached from AI, like the technical components of it. Because you ask those guys, and they're like, I don't know. Like, yeah, we literally can't say, like, tell the chatbot to tell the truth. It doesn't know what that means. But yeah, like, it is definitely a thing now. It feels easier to be like, yeah, but it's always going to produce a sort of low quality prose. Like we're not gonna get to a point. And it was interesting. They did a study about poetry and AI generated poetry, and they were like, look at all these people that can't tell that this poetry is AI generated, and it's like it's people who don't read poetry, right? It was funny. They did a graph of like the genders of like women are slightly better at telling that in distinguishing AI poetry from non-AI poetry than men, and then non-binary people are really fucking good at, which is so funny. Because it's like, yeah, they have fucking English majors or whatever. They have English MAs. And it's like, when you do that, it's obvious what's the AI. Because it's like, it doesn't have a soul to it. It kind of looks like it, but it's not really structured in the way of like a human being who produces art. I remember I said this like 3 years ago and people were mad at me. But it seems trivially correct now. Which is, I mean, it's quite, I do feel bad for people who have to like if I was 20 and AI started, I would feel bad. I mean, I don't know. I feel complicated about, I feel contradictory feelings about that. Because at some level, I kind of don't care about people like just cheating to get through their humanities degrees. Especially because it's like you only really do that in undergrad. And undergrad is kind of a degree mill anyways. Yeah, I mean, it is just going to destroy education, I guess. The problem is that it's like accelerating a process that already exists in the university, which is that no one is fucking there. A vast majority of people aren't there to do the thing they want to do. They're like, I need a degree, and they're like, well, I get stuck in. That was the case with philosophy, because philosophy, at least at Queens, like you need a certain GPA average to apply to a major in second year. Like you start on you're in arts, maybe like the arts broadly or science, and then you choose a specific one. I did go to Queens, yeah. Should have Queens University. You're at Queens, it makes you think. But philosophy was the lowest requirement, GPA requirement, for like arts. But like I always wanted to do philosophy, and like I would have chose whatever, you know. But a lot of people were like, "Well, this is the one I can do," and it really does like, and it's I don't know, it's fine, you know. You need like, sometimes you need an undergraduate degree if you want to get certain jobs. It's just the position that everyone's been put in, unfortunately. I'm not sure why. I wonder what the I guess it's just a qualifications thing. How that developed in the last, what is it, like maybe 4 or 5 decades? That started to become a lot more of the case. But it's already kind of cooked. And it's like, sure, if you want your degree, I don't really care. Human geography. I took a geography class, geography of health, and the professor, this was the end of 2019, like the winter term. It's weird. It's weird at Queens where it's like the first term in 2019 is the 2019 winter term, because it's technically, but the end term, I guess the fall 2019 term, he was like, yeah, we're like totally completely unguarded against a pandemic. Like if that were to happen, it would really fuck things up. And like literally 2 months later, the classes went, you know. I was unfortunate. What was I saying? I can't remember. The lizard is forever. Yes. The lizard is forever. But I don't know. It's kind of already a mill, so I guess it's easier for some people. The whole fairness thing I don't really care too much about, although I guess like philosophy was easy enough for me that it didn't matter. I guess the problem would be if it turned into a graduate level thing, although like I don't know if you could use ChatGPT at a graduate level humanities course. I feel like that would be insane. Maybe you can, I don't know. I guess I haven't used it that much. It seems like a thing that would be really difficult. 50K to turn off the lizard? No, you make it big. You make the lizard big. I do feel bad for professors and grad students who have to mark like just obvious slop from ChatGPT. And yeah, I mean, it gets so much worse. Like the fact that like people will post like ChatGPT went down for a day, and it's like I don't even know how to do my homework or whatever. And it's like that's not good. I don't know. One of the things about being in like humanities schooling for like 5 years, 6 years in a row, from 18 to 24, 25, when did I get my MA? It's like it trains you to write stuff. It's a lot easier for me to start writing something because you just know how to do it. But like, I don't like, it seems like a lot of people who get through humanities undergraduate schooling might like lose that because they never have to start anything. They're like, start this ChatGPT, start this paragraph for me about this thing. Yeah, which I guess is not good. It's interesting. I don't know. I wonder if this is like how Luddite this position becomes, where it's like, I think it's different than this, but maybe it isn't. Where it was like a thing people were saying about learning how to do cursive, that it's like, well, it's superfluous now. It's, you know, you can complain that people can't do it, but it's a thing that people don't have to do anymore. But I don't know. I don't think that is the case for creative writing. I don't know. Um, there are parts of. I think this is pretty fundamental. I guess so. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how I could be wrong about this. How it could be silly. Reading wall clocks. I feel like that one's silly. I feel like it's easy to read a wall clock. That was the thing that that like my teachers were freaking out about. But like a wall clock, you can read it. It takes you maybe 10 minutes to learn how to read a wall clock, I feel like. Like it feels very straightforward to me to teach someone how to, like an adult who doesn't know how to do that. Use an LLM-powered sentimental analysis to determine how my wife felt about our marriage. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's just a thing of like, maybe it's how I feel about a lot of social media stuff, which is the problem isn't necessarily the technology, it's the context that the technology is being used in. Where people are given like a path of least resistance that is a result of extenuating circumstances, unrelated, maybe directly, not directly related to that path of resistance, but that makes people rely on this path of least resistance in a really detrimental way. And in this case, it's that like, well, maybe people would be interested in creative writing, and these institutions would be used in a world in which you didn't have to fucking get a undergraduate degree to feel like you could get like a good job. Because I don't know, the idea like if this is the ideal I conceive of in terms of a humanities class in like the 1950s. Maybe this is not true. If those guys have ChatGPT and everyone's there because they want to be there, then most people are probably not using it. I don't know. I wonder, like, for people who are in undergrad in like a humanities course, like I always knew in my like philosophy cohort, there were people who like were there for philosophy because they liked it. It's hard for me to imagine those guys using ChatGPT in this context. Like whenever especially in a smaller department, you can kind of make that distinction. Of sorts of people. And it's like someone who's kind of like thrown it in. It's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. There's no way literally everyone is adopting chatbots to cheat. I mean, yeah, I guess so. I guess it's impossible to it's everyone. It's easy to spot who likes the subjects, yeah. I don't know. It feels like it's a lot worse. Although, like, the idea of a chatbot isn't terrible intrinsically. I guess this is another thing in relation to automation. Although not quite, it's different. Like, there's a classic Marxist point, although even just generally left-wing point about, like, automation is good, but then, like, in capitalism, it produces all these problems because it disrupts people's ability to work in a way that's, like, has been historically, good for the economy broadly because it generates value. And then also just in terms of it makes them money. It's like you're removing a bunch of jobs, increases poverty and inequality. But this seems even different than that because it's not necessarily a job thing. Raises productive forces, exactly. External memory. This seems more like not necessarily, maybe it's a job qualification thing, I guess. But this seems more of like people aren't relying on reading or on basic writing skills because those writing skills are automated and so they suck at them. And then that's like just generally bad for, I don't know, it keeps getting the auto mod. The auto mod keeps, but you see cases where people report genuinely writing something, but being identified as AI by an authentication tool. That's interesting. I guess there's no way of... That is something I was wondering. I remember one of my cousins was telling me their friend, like, they submitted something and it got, popped up as, like, AI. And they were like, but no, like they genuinely weren't using AI, and it was like, I don't know, maybe that's, I guess your friend said that, I don't know, but I guess it would be hard to definitively distinguish it. I guess the solution there is to just make everything in person. Like you have to go and write, like come here and then write an essay for an hour on this subject. Um, yeah, detectors are shit. That makes sense. It's different than a plagiarism checker, though, isn't it? Yeah, just writing an essay by hand is probably the solution. Um, bring back typewriters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It does seem like I think I talked about this before. That class that was that undergrad class that was becoming like the syllabus is AI generated or some shit. So I think maybe we just have a couple years before the pretense of like especially larger humanities undergrad courses being serious is gone. The UCLA, it's very depressing. I don't know. I don't know how to reconcile like a position that isn't just kind of Luddite with it. I mean, I guess the way of reconciling it is that in a better world, people would have much more time to like develop some sort of capacity or talent that they find fulfilling, and would therefore be more motivated to like properly write for good reasons. Um, that a lot of the times people get better at writing because they kind of have to, and that isn't, I guess, is sustainable. Well, Luddite, you're not a Luddite for being aware of new tech. Luddite, I guess, in a hyperbolic sense. Um, teach kids math and give them a calculator. I guess so. Yeah, I guess you still need to do the basic stuff first. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the solution is just everything in person, in class. But that kind of sucks too. An academic argued their syllabus was intellectual property, so the school can't teach it after they left. That's cool. Like just in general, is that AI related? Because that sounds like a good, like I guess, like a academic, rights for professors in some way. They can't just have their work scalped by others. Because that's like I guess one reason that a prof can become superfluous. The school owns the syllabi now. That sucks. That's way worse. Yeah, good way of keeping your job. I don't know. I guess like the thing about a lot of tech is that it's like, oh, it's the way that AI has generally been spoken about is like, oh, it's really spooky what it could turn into. But given that like there's a like diminishing returns on the capacity of like chatbots, maybe this is kind of it. Maybe that's still very depressing. Like it's not going to get worse than this. There might be some sort of good. Thank you. Maybe there's some sort of like the capacity for limiting it might increase. Don't give phones until I think the don't give kids phones until 16 is not good either though, because like how is that working in Australia? Am I too blue? I always get the balance wrong. I can unblue myself. Is that the right way? Because I don't want to get too orange. Oh, do you guys see Trump's new haircut? Colloidal silver live. That's. I miss the old Donnie. He's washed. He looks evil. He does. You're right. It's an ominous look. I really, honestly, I did not. He really does put the spray tan on. That's crazy. He's like embracing the gray or the white hair.
I am gay.
Happy Kirby, thank you for the 3 months. Doing the classic, I'm going blonde when his hair was like getting whiter, but then he just didn't. He's finally embracing it now. Looks like a British tourist. He kind of does. It's weird. It's uncanny. Old school bully in an 80s movie. What motivates him to dye his face like that? It's just he's just weird. It's like a weird, like not even beauty standard. It's hard to imagine what weird conception of like beauty and aesthetic, that he had to like receive, being I guess like a New York real estate guy, to think like that bronzer is a good move for him. I don't know. It's hard to get into. Donald Trump, like, as a psychic being, is like sort of opaque to me in a couple ways. Remember, like, I was thinking about when there was some interview that asked him, I can't remember, this must have been before he was a politician, but I guess it's hard to know for sure, about like masturbation. And he was like, that's not my scene. Like, he was like, no, I don't drink, it's not my world. He's like he's the first like serial rapist who just has no sex drive. Like, he's like, no, it's just, that's the thing you're supposed to do, right? Like, that's his conception of it. Yeah, he's in like an asexual rapist. It's like it confuses me. I don't understand that. Doesn't drink, but he loves, I guess McDonald's is his like. Trump confirms he's not a gooner. He's not a gooner. He's raised by his mother, who is really vain, which makes sense. Oh, it's ad break time. That does like track. Like I can see that completely. Like that was his, like, when he let trans women compete in like these beauty pageants. Like the position was like, you look, I like them. They try so hard. I think it's nice, Like some women, they don't try, but they really put in a lot of effort. It's admirable. Like that was his position. Initiation procedure to become a Republican in Canada, like we have to rape at least 3 women. It's true. That is truth nuke. Trump acknowledging women is a performance, yeah. But yeah, it's like he's like one of the like old, like leathery Vegas guys who like, yeah, there really is. Trump is really a Vegas guy, like in terms of my perception of him. I've never been to Vegas, so maybe I don't know. That's what I thought he would have done after his like election, after he fell off, was just turn like a part of Vegas into like his like Trump like Mecca. And you think Atlantic City? Okay. Yeah, because I don't know about it. My only understanding of Atlantic City is that it's somewhere in New Jersey and it's kind of like Vegas, but like super run down. Like it's like no one goes there anymore. Is that a correct perception? It's like shittier Vegas. That's where his failed casino was. I see. It fucking blows. We have Vegas at home. I see. That's actually perfect for Trump. Yeah, I see. That he's not a Vegas guy. He's a we have Vegas at home guy. He's Diet Vegas. Yeah, it's grim. Anyways, what else is going on? Atlantic City fucking. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account and get one free subscription that you can use on me. Money is appreciated. You also don't have to see ads, in case you didn't know. Elon for speaker, that would be so cool. Because they can do it, technically. The problem is, what is the margin right now? Because they had another rep that was like in the house. Musk did go to Queens. There's a photo of him in Vic Hall. Which, of course, yeah, he's like a Vic Hall, like, cringe eng student. Of course. Of fucking course. Stay away from Vic Hall. Vic Hall was funny because it was like, it's like one of the really big dorms at Queens. And it was like, I had a friend who was there, and it was just like, no one, I mean, this is generally true of this sort of group of, like, you know, but like no one, the lack of care for the well-being of the building was, I think, the worst out of any of the dorms. Like, people would just, they had like the popcorn ceilings, and the thing people would do is just like, they would run around drunk, just like punching them, like, out, which I'm sure they must have, I hope that they changed. I wasn't in Vic Hall, no. I was in Watts, which was like a really nice, which I got lucky. It's completely random. I got a single plus in Watts. How do you vibe? That makes sense. I can see that. That was like the nicer single pluses, wasn't it? Where you had like a key card and shit. That was also a really funny contrast at Queens at the very least. Where like there were these the women residents. Well, I wouldn't have applied for that legally at the time, but where some of the like Morris smelled like shit. Like, it was super old. There was probably some like mold growing under the carpets. It was terrible. People were in these ridiculous, like, large, like a 4-person dorm room, which like fucking sucks. That you're just in a big room for a year with 3 random people. And then some people, they have these like key cards to enter their dorms, and like these really fast elevators that you have to like scan your. It was just completely random as far as I'm aware, which is the way you should do it. Yeah, 4-person bunk room is like a barracks. Yeah, it's brutal. Is Morris the best one now? Popcorn students often have a bed. I assume they didn't have asbestos in Vic Hall. If they did, we would have heard about someone dying at some point from breaking it. The one thing that happened in my building when I was there was there was a like actual fire alarm. I think someone put some metal in like I think there was a real fire. I think it was microwave related. But the sprinkler system was like really, really strong. And it was I'm sure I've told this story before. It was too strong. And like, I think it dealt with the fire, but then like it flooded the basement. Like, it flooded both our floor and the floor below us, but especially the floor below us. There was like a bunch of damage and shit. Like, people's laptops and stuff got like flooded. Which is like, I guess it worked. It seems like it worked a little bit too well. It was kind of terrible. Like, we had like doors that like closed forcefully, and the walls were insanely thin. Like, you could hear people breathing when they like someone whispers while they're walking down and you could hear them in your dorm room. It's like, in a certain sense, it kind of is like still being in a barracks. It's like if someone's having sex, you kind of just like hear them. Yeah, it's like throwback. It's nice to go to university in a place that's walkable, where everything is kind of close. I wouldn't have wanted to go in a big city. Jason's nice, yeah. It's very walkable. Anyways, what was I talking about? Everyone hates on it because it's all like rich Toronto kids. I feel like they're used to like living in Toronto. That was my impression of how people felt about it. Blue Sky TNS caught gooning? What does that mean? None of those words are in the Bible. I'll tell you that for sure. Oh yeah, the army guys suck. It is also a very white city. Trust and safety. Who's the Blue Sky Trust and Safety got gooning? Who's gooning? Was the Blue Sky guy gooning? What happened? Because I know there was a drama because Jeff C. Singal joined and they refused to ban him. In a way that kind of like allowed for revenge porn on Blue Sky, because the law that they like the regulation where they were like, well, we won't ban Jesse Singal despite the fact that he's like linked to someone being doxxed, is that like the terms of service only apply to things on the website. You can link somewhere elsewhere that has, I guess, TOS violations, but that's fine. But then which technically like allows for revenge porn stuff, I think. They really fucked up, and the reason they didn't want to ban Jesse Singal was because they didn't want a reputation. He left anyways, which is funny. Which is another. They were trying to combat the reputation of Blue Sky as like a woke, echo chamber, because all those like evil like center left, New York Times style journalists were like talking about how it's like a woke echo chamber. And they know that would be a confirmation of it. But like obviously people harassed Jesse Singal to the point that he didn't want to be there anymore, so he left. So they didn't win anyways, because just now Singal is like, well, it's a woke echo chamber. They look at all the people that harassed me, and they didn't. Blue Sky didn't do anything to ban the people who are harassing me. So they lost both sides. Both sides are now mad at them. You found a way to lose everyone, for no one to be happy about it. Which really does, like, it's like old Twitter is back. Blue Sky is just old Twitter. That's what I'm convinced of. Oh, Finkelstein is an insane person, yeah. But yeah, so I saw before this happened, a bunch of people were like, I would pay a certain amount of money to do Blue Sky Premium or whatever. And now that's not the case. No one wants to do that. So, I mean, good job, guys, I guess. Junie created an account called What's Aaron Doing that filtered the files, caught him liking a cloned porn account. Oh, so Aaron is like the trust and safety guy. We can't have nice things. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, the reality of the situation is that you should never actually expect any sort of large website to protect you if you're a trans person. That's always been the case, but it is especially now, especially in a context now where like Disney is being like, we are sorry for thinking about depicting trans people positively. We understand how many people are offended by that. Like in that sort of political context, we just can't, I mean, there was like community organization that helped, like kicked him out. He left, right? But the actual website itself, you can't hope for that. Which doesn't mean you can't ask. It's just you should know what the answer is going to be. Asking for things you know the answer to is useful sometimes, because it's like, yeah, like they have to say it explicitly of like, sorry, yeah, we're not going to ban the transphobe guy. But yeah. The deleted Pixar scene, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a sort of like political context for trans people. It's kind of the attitude, it's just like do that for a couple of years, see what happens. That's kind of the feeling. What is the majority like? What is the or the Republican majority in the House right now? Because I know that one congressperson said that they wouldn't caucus with the Republicans when people thought they would. So it went down another one. Is there an article about it? Oh, and then we have the Hawk Tuah lady. She breaks her silence. I didn't know. This is breaking news from from Miles. I guess says she's cooperating with the law firm going after her crypto partners. Okay, that's it. Hashtag Haley Innocent. That's what honestly, this is the thing I said before. The thing I said before was that like, it's too, I can't get a archive page, doesn't have this, so I don't know. That Haley is like just very stupid. The Hawk Tuah girl is just stupid. And she likes being friends. Like she wasn't able to discern who she should have been friends with. She was like, who likes me the most? And it's like, well, it's like crypto people, I guess. They love it when she posts, hashtag Bitcoin to the moon. And it's like an AI image of her riding a Bitcoin thing up a graph. Like she isn't able to. And, there's like a large range of people that are probably like happy to hitch their ride onto her, hitch their cart. Is that the expression? Onto her. And it's just the people who are generally the most enthusiastic about that are going to be people on the right because they're more shameless. They won't care if you like say problematic shit or whatever. And then crypto people. Because it's literally like you are a means to an end for me. I'm using you. You're using your clout to convert it directly to my own money. So it's cool that I guess her thing now is like, I didn't realize that I was signing up for a rug pull, which like is greatly insulting to yourself, that you're like, I got duped into that. But the thing is like, I believe it. Like, do you think people will believe that? Like, I think so. I think I believe that she's dumb enough to accidentally scam people. Sure, totally. Absolutely, 100%. I don't know. It is funny. Like, you get this like just free ride in life, which is functionally what this is, where it's like you just have to make your podcast and then you're fine, and you're like absurdly rich. It's not like you're fine. Like that's my free ride life. You have to make your podcast and you're fine. Like she's like the top number 3 podcast, like was it like number 1 on Spotify or something? She just had to do that, but she somehow found a way to fuck it up, which is crypto rug pull. So I think that it would kind of be funny if that happened, but I hope she pulls through. She's got to find some real friends. Who should be real mad is her like sidekick, her like best friend. So I'm sure she didn't even have any part in that. The lady that's just always with her, like Dollar Store Addison Rae, I feel like is what she looks like. Pookie's in shambles. Is Pookie's the guy she's dating, right? Isn't that what that was? The interview guy did she sue the interview guy? I didn't hear about that. Definitely the funniest Talk to Her thing was when we listened to some of her podcast, and she was like sponsored by one of those like fake data mining like sign up to vote things that doesn't actually sign you up to vote. Like one of the Republican one runs to like get people's data. It's Chelsea. I love Go F Kings has an emote for her. That's awesome. Yeah. I'd be mad as hell if I was Chelsea the situation. But yeah. Hashtag Hawk2 innocent. I believe her. Believe women. The interview is saying she's lying. About what? Because I know she was like, I don't give a fuck about him. I don't care that he's not getting any clout. Which is, I mean, look, maybe she's not the nicest person in the world. It's an interesting, like, democratization of fame situation. Because it seems like it's getting more absurd. Like, it's getting more intense now that you can just, like, not even run. Like, the thing with her is that she didn't even have, like, a production thing. She was just drunk and then a guy interviewed her on the street. Talk to a girl was sucked in. And then she, like, the selection process, and it's like not like, it's like funny, but it's not like the people who found the Hawk Tuah thing funny. It was like your dad who found it on an Instagram reel. And that's like the most sexual content that is being, like that's like the bar where like it's a coworker coded meme. Exactly. But like it's such a weird, absurd selection process for like who gets to be famous and then get the fake job and then kind of lounge and do nothing. That like people are starting to fuck it up. There's like, I feel like what is like the 5-year-old equivalent of that? It is also interesting. Maybe there's something, there's something good about, or good feels like a too strong endorsement of a phenomena. It's better than not being the case. About like if this happened 10 years ago, let's say, she would have just gone on Ellen once and then that would have been it. Like the damn Daniel guy. Like what the fuck he doesn't have a podcast. He's got nothing. Damn Daniel, he's cooked. He just went on the thing and then he probably got nothing. I'm sure he's working at Target or whatever. Yeah, maybe he's like he had a lifetime supply of Vans. Well, there you go. Now it's like if you're like that, you get like a free ride. Yeah, Ellen was a apex predator in the meme ecosystem. I did, yeah. I dyed my hair. I don't know if that's good or not. I'm not sure. The Costco guys have the Costco guys make me uneasy because it is literally just. It's interesting because it is so clearly just a dad who like one of those insane like I'm a dad who films every waking moment of their child's life for content. But it's like fun. They run us on stream. That's funny. It is like, I mean, maybe it's less bad because they're not vlogging. Like it's not a Shay Carl situation. I feel like the Shay Carls like there was like a downfall there with a couple influencer parents where it was revealed how like evil and abusive, and like now we're back to doing that. Like society didn't like that for a little while, and now we're back doing it, but like a little bit different. Well, it's not like life blogs. I don't think. Maybe I've just never seen most of their content, but they're just like rapping or whatever in like a short little TikTok. It's probably just the same, but then it's like a little bit more fun and a little bit less invasive. Maybe it's the same level of invasive. Maybe everyone has just forgotten about that sort of thing being sketchy. Turning kids into content spectrum so it isn't bad. Yeah. Yeah, like the scale is like it's not bad. It's kind of like child actors, and then it's abusive. The spectrum. He used to do life blog. Well, yeah, I'm sure he tried it out, and then I guess he figured it didn't work. Like the people are tired of the life blogs. It's a little bit too much. Cause yeah, I mean it's obviously like surely that's not good. And then the Rizzler is just not his child. He's just another child of another family. My understanding is that is just like the mean, like New Jersey Italian. Like every New Jersey Italian boy just looks like that. What was the Northern Lion thing where he was like surprised? He went to America and he was surprised at how many like little Rizzlers there were, because he thought like that was like a unique type of guy. It's like he looks so unique in particular. Where it's like no, that's not the point of it. Which is, yeah, I agree. That is weird. That's a strange. So I apologize for the Italiophobia. Yeah, I am confused. I don't know what the point of the Rizzler is. I don't see. It's on you. It's he just does the thing, right? It's his aura. It is so funny that like you would think that like a democratization of like who gets to be famous, it'd be like, oh well, the people would select like the most and it's like I don't fucking. It's like why is she? Because she said Hawk to spit on that thing, like, and that was it. It's like okay, I guess that's what the people want. It's worse somehow. It's like they're not even. I don't know. Is that a bad thing? Maybe not. The 5 anti-Zionists on Israel Twitter love you. I love to see it. I said thank you to that guy in Hebrew. Shout out to anti-Zionist Israeli Twitter. Baby Gronk is so washed. It's actually kind of sad. I think it is actually really sad. He had that tweet that had like 200 likes, and it was like, the Rizzler never heard of him. And it's like, this is bad. This is not good. This isn't leading towards something that's positive. It happens. It does happen to be Livik, or many are saying this. Yeah, Baby Gronk is. I guess the point was that the beef is that like he's supposed to be the Riz King, but then the Rizzler is saying that he's like, that he's rizzing, that he's good at Riz, and Baby Gronk is like, you're not the Riz King, it's me. And then it's this like, it's like his dad or something is just filming a video of his child genuinely being very angry about another, like a New Jersey Italian 10-year-old who's claiming that he is better Riz. Like it feels like wrong. It's like getting your like pet to fight other pets. It's like he's a warrior. It's like you shouldn't be doing that for him. Like this is not good for his psyche. It's like dog fights, but like with your kids or something. It's like it doesn't. Yeah, it's like Pokemon. Yeah, that's a better. Yeah, it feels actually really bad. As far as a wholesome family, that's good. Hey Shem, how's it going? We need to choose a side. I think I know what side I'm choosing here. I feel like yeah, Baby Gronk is washed. He's incredibly washed. It's over for him. It's not even a fight, you know. It's like the Mad Men where the guy's like, I feel bad for you, and then he responds like, I don't think of you at all. That's Rizzler Baby Gronk. He's cooked, or his baby Gronk's cooked. Baby Gronk keeps committing and decommitting from college football teams, which is like, what's the point of committing then if it's not a thing? Is he actually like still like the saddest reality for Baby Gronk is that he stops being like, because surely that's gonna happen, right? Like, how able are you to scout a football player, an American football player, for the college level when he's like fucking 13? Like, how good are you? How able are you to do that? Like, surely that's not. Like, surely you can't, right? Yeah. Like, that's the talent isn't gonna. I guess, like, maybe you could tell, like, athletic ability of someone, but then they could get injured. They could be a fucking idiot. I don't know how, like, maybe there are some American football positions where you don't need any game sense at all and you can be a fucking idiot, but I doubt it, right? And then I don't know. It's not like scouting kids through the NBA, which is the thing. Is the implication you can do that? It does usually start in the 8th grade in the U.S. Okay, so this is like, because American football is like, my understanding is that it's just so bad. I guess soccer academies take, but you take a kid who's promising, right? And then sometimes they suck. You need to be an insane athlete. Unlike the NHL, was kind of that young. Football is much more physical. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. I guess the point is you can scout intelligence better. Like someone who's like a 14-year-old and he's really fucking good at like soccer. I guess there's more of a brain thing. Whereas football, you just you run at people. So it's a lot harder. You can be the best of your best your entire life, go to the NFL and be dog shit. I'm sure that's how it is with like any, like the same with NHL and NBA. Who is that? Like, I can't remember which NBA player who's like, you know, he was like a backbench or whatever. What's the term I'm looking for? And he was telling people like, I am much closer to LeBron than you are to me. Like even NBA players who suck are like insanely good. Bronny, what is up with Bronny? I have not been paying attention to NBA recently. Is his name the White Mom? Who was it? Yeah, Bronny is washed, right? Like he's not. Wait, he's in the G League? What happened? So he's no longer on. Wait, what happened? So he's washed. He's not in the LA Lakers anymore? Am I? No. Sorry. I forgot what the G League was. He dropped 30? Okay. So he's not. He's with the Lakers affiliate. Okay. Yeah, I guess NBA minor league. I see. Well, I guess that's what you kind of expected in that situation. You got in a fight. It's got to be the Rizzler. Why doesn't want to be Braun? I mean, that is a hard. I mean, I guess it isn't a hard situation to be in. I guess relatively speaking, it's an easy position to be in. But having people expect you to be like LeBron is probably difficult for any human being. Of course, I'm not loyal to the Grizzlies. When they abandoned Canada. I don't feel bad about them for abandoning Canada. Because fair enough. Like, does Vancouver deserve an NBA team? No, of course we don't. We hardly deserve a hockey team. And you know, that's why we were given the Canucks. It's hardly a hockey team. But no, we don't deserve anything more than that. I know in terms of population, it wouldn't be too crazy to have one. But I don't know if there's enough money in it. But the Grizzlies used to be up here. Yeah, it was a very bad run, wasn't it? Yeah, we used to have a basketball team. What else? We don't have like there's definitely not a baseball team here. Although like in the really lower leagues, I guess so. You should have asked why there are Grizzlies in Memphis. It is an interesting change. It is funny. Like now on the court, the Dallas Poutine Eaters. It's like, okay, this feels like a one. That's a weird name. It feels. I don't know if that works for Dallas. It's a little unusual. It's a similar situation. Yeah, that it'd be funny in like NHL. The California Canadiens. It's like this doesn't seem like it's quite Calgary kept the Flames when they took it from Atlanta. Does that make more sense in Atlanta? Anyways, what else is going on? So the Hawk 2 lady has been redeemed. It wasn't her fault. Hashtag free Haley Welch. Hashtag free Hawk 2. And then the Luigi stuff is getting more intense, obviously. Those absurd images of him being transferred to New York. With Eric Adams is there for some reason. I don't know why. Like, why is Eric Adams in that photo? Isn't he like going to jail? Like, what's happening with that? I thought he broke the law. Is that trial still ongoing? He's under indictment. If Trump pardons him and then he's still the mayor, that would be very funny. It's so odd to me. It does surprise me so much that he managed to make like the cultural shift to Republican. I guess it's the similar thing with like why Haley Welch was with people on the right. It's like, yeah, because like when you fuck up, you know, they don't have any values. They don't care. They will accept you. Okay.
News of the day, and that is Luigi Mangione arriving back here in New York. First and foremost, why did you feel the need to go to
very quiet, I'm
and
sorry.
actually greet him once he got off that helicopter?
So I was at a conference a few days ago with the top CEOs, IBM, Deloitte. It was a room full of CEOs and governmental officials. And the shooting, the intentional shooting, and the response after really traumatized the entire industry. Not only the CEOs, but the employees. People forget that. And I wanted to...
Is that true? Yeah, the employees. The thing that working at a healthcare company, I'm like, oh, you know, they killed the CEO. What's next? The janitor?
Send a strong message with the
like they could go for
police
me.
Commissioner that we're leading from the front. I'm not going to just allow him to come into our city. I want to look him in the eye and stated that you carried out this terrorist act in my city, the city that the people of New York love, and I wanted to be there to show the symbolism of that.
That's awesome. Like, I don't know. It's funny, like, in the sense that you would think, I think this is generally a product of the ruling class getting like a little too cocky. Like, it's like, you know, like the kids these days, they got it so easy. I'm feeling that way about like capitalists and statesmen, where it's like, a century ago, if you tried to do this shit, they would like, like people would explicitly organize around a class political distinction they have with you. It would have made a thing that was already kind of on fire a lot worse. Like, you don't realize the thing you are stoking up here. You think that that part of like class politics is over and you can just like do this. That the threat is like terrorists, which in this case is just people who want to do bad things that sometimes pop up because they're evil, and then they're individual actors, and they're usually small, and you can just like smack them down. And it's like, I don't know if that's always going to be the case. It's probably not a good idea to stoke this if you're an Eric Adams, if you care about this sort of thing. Worst thing to happen in New York since 9/11. Did he say that? Because that's very funny. This guy's a huge fucking loser. When was the last competent statesman? They don't have to be competent anymore. In a certain respect, they don't have to be competent. When class tension like fizzles out, it becomes less of an important selection mechanism for leaders, I guess. He was only there for the symbolism studios is awesome. The terrorist act thing is interesting because like the concept of a terrorist is arbitrary and is generally has historically just been used as like non-state actor that is threatening the state's legitimacy. Like the French resistance were terrorists. Like were considered terrorists by the Germans, right? In that sense, I mean, sure. That's the thing about the term terrorist is that it's arbitrary. People think of it as like a technical, like, like one man's terror is another man's freedom, I guess. That's so lame. But like the idea of a like this is a person who's doing these severe acts for a certain message, to get a certain message out for a particular, there are plenty of instances where you could be like, well, I agree with the message. That's the government is dictatorial. It's not good. And it's like, well, they're spreading terror. Because again, it's like spreading terror for whom? I personally believe that the Nazis should have been afraid after they invaded France. There should have been more terror. That's the one situation, I would, of course, never endorse murder in the current context in any situation, of course. But I'm just saying, like, the Nazis would have been a lot better if they were more terrified. They probably would have had a positive effect. Anyways, yeah. I don't know. I have a lot of contradictory feelings. It is so interesting. Like, there is an obsession, and it makes sense why this is the case on the left, but just in general about like action, where it's like we don't need to think about what we're doing. We need to act. Like, we don't have the luxury of thought. We just need to get the ball rolling. And I don't know. We'll see how this develops. But again, it's when you have a situation where a political culture is just as like intellectually barren as the American context, it seems like it's hard to even list the object that you're fighting against. Like with Luigi, like who is he fighting against? He's found some sort of concrete, coherent entity that a majority of people can agree is bad. But like structurally, where does that entity come from? Because those are questions that we don't have the liberty of not answering, I feel like. I don't know, I guess we'll see how this develops. One of the things I will say, it was interesting. There was a school shooting recently that like went viral because it was I guess a girl. It was like a 15-year-old lady who did it. And there was a fake manifesto that dropped that was, because she wasn't Radfem. That was a fake manifesto. And she wasn't a femcel. Like the manifesto that mentioned Radfem Hitler was fake. Which for a while I was like, wow. Because Radfem Hitler has followed me for like years on Twitter. I don't know why. I feel like it's been like a year now. Like sometimes she'll like a post of mine. And it's like, okay. I don't know why that is. But it was like odd to see someone who, it's like the degree of separation. Yeah, then she deactivated because everyone thought it was her, that she inspired a shooting or whatever. The real ideology was, I think, not as coherent, although I think it was... What was the post? What was the logic of it? It was very conservative. She wasn't a feminist, the lady. Yeah, it was like a deep right-wing, incoherent thing. No, she wasn't a femcel. No, she was not a feminist, and she had a boyfriend. And it seemed like more like she hated women than men. Yeah, like a Discord Nazi. Right? Isn't that true? But I was thinking it is interesting, like, I think a lot of the times that like school shootings have happened recently is like people want attention. They're like, I'm gonna die, I might as well. It's interesting. I wonder if people will make the shift to like, well, if I knew a CEO, like the people have already, like, no one even remembered the name of the school shooter lady. It's like the memory of Luigi Mangione and people talking about him was before her and has greatly surpassed her, obviously. So I wonder if that will change. Like, I wonder if the disaffected, I just want people to think about me, whatever. It will shift to some sort of class-based violence. I wonder. I guess it is. We will have to see later if that happens. Because yeah, people are just like so desensitized to school shootings that it's like, why did they do it? I don't know. It just keeps happening. I don't like. Becomes a thing that like no one thinks about. That's what the Trump shooter realized? I think so. That's probably true. Like the meme about like Republicans when they have to shoot Donald Trump for no reason. And he's like crying with the gun. Like, it's like, I mean, I guess that was the one. That was although he was still watched, I guess because he didn't actually get him. Individualized violence is baked in this country's culture. Yeah, it is interesting. Like, propaganda of the deed does seem like a perfect moment for propaganda of the deed. However unsuccessful that becomes a lot of the time. Because the way that Luigi seemed to talk about it, because there was like some selective releasing of his notes, the way he seemed to talk about it was like, my action speaks for itself. So it's interesting to think of what that logic is going to come to. Like, I don't need to say all that much about this. My action speaks for itself. Yeah, I mean, that seems like I would never endorse violence, is what I was actually gonna say. That was what my thought was gonna be. I know it doesn't sound like I was starting that thought in a way that would lead there, but being drunk has put Luigi into a new perspective for me. You mean that he was drunk, or that you got drunk and you were like, makes sense, makes you think? We need to meet our violence condemnation quota. Absolutely. No comment. What murder? Yeah, you're right. It's the presumed guilty. No, presumed innocent. Sorry, that's what. It's the opposite. That's how the law works, as far as I understand. Oh, you know, the thing. Did you see Barry Weiss? No, what happened there? I was also seeing like this is slightly related, but there's a lot of discussion about like leftists need to stop going on Substack, like stop using Substack. And I do wonder, like, I guess a smart decision would just not be to talk about this, but I do wonder what people think about it. I mean, I guess I have a stream. The thing about streams is that people don't disagree with you on them, or they're less likely to. I feel like I've produced a very agreeable culture in my chat. I don't know why I did. I don't know how I did this. Maybe you're all just nice. But I look at other people's chat and they're so rude to the streamer, and that's just less, like, much less the case here. The feeling that I have about Substack is that it's a big platform where like they are actually doing the freedom of speech absolutism thing. No, I hate you. Well, first time chat though, so you're not a regular chat. I was talking about people who chat, so maybe the people who hate me just don't chat in the way too long username. Thank you. But that's like actually a good opportunity, if anything, like to, because most of the times the free speech absolutism thing, like with Elon, is like when the right does it, it's bullshit. Very nice clip, thank you. When the right does it, it's bullshit. But when there is a situation where there is a fairly large, and you can just fucking say shit, the fact that they're buddy with like Barry Weiss and shit is like, well, I mean, this is a resource to be used. But look who's Substack subsidized. I guess so. But it does seem like it's still a good, like it still is a highly used place where you can put your thoughts in a way that you don't have to worry about being censored in a way that even like a Patreon you would. And like when we start to get the political violence normal, you know, like that's going to be a more important question. Because obviously that doesn't affect me as a Twitch streamer who doesn't condone violence in any situation. But, you know, this other Liv Agar on Substack might have a different opinion about that. That's which is the lizard, not me. That's the lizard talking. When's my next newsletter? I have a bunch of, I should just like release shit. Because I have a couple of things I've written that are pretty much done, but I'm like, I don't like it. I think people might find them interesting anyways. So I just need to, the cooler Liv Agar, yeah. It's livagar.com if you want the newsletter. And I'll probably do more free stuff, especially if I'm streaming regularly. Because I'm less worried about it being like a source of income. But I don't know. I think that's useful. I don't know if like hosting your stuff on there is inherently. I guess you're helping. The argument is that you're helping an organization that does boost like the Barry Weisses of the world. But I still think as long as like it seems clear that they don't actually give a shit, like they are actually sincere with the free speech absolutism thing, then it would be silly to be like, I've hosted this myself in a place that no one can see it. Yeah, I mean, being on the left, especially on the left in a position where you have to worry about deplatforming when you talk about your opinions, you will always have to, in the American political context, always have to deal with the fact that you aren't close to a majority of the groups who are being deplatformed, you know? I don't know.
I don't understand why people are celebrating.
So this is Charlamagne the God, thank you so much.
Him being killed, because at the end of the day, like I said yesterday, he's dead. His kids don't got no father. That 26-year-old Luigi or whatever his name is, he gonna be in jail for the rest of his life. And the healthcare system is still the same today.
Nothing changes.
The healthcare company still did not.
It is a funny argument because it's like they already have made some sort of like there are healthcare companies who have like reversed unpopular policies as an explicit reaction to this.
Giant claims and everything today.
So it's like I don't know.
What did that accomplish? And
That is the thing, is it's like I said this on the QA podcast. I don't know which parts of the podcast they left in, because there were parts I'm sure we definitely cut. But it's like the people who are saying like violence never solves anything. It's like it has done something. It has done something. Well, Charlamagne is an idiot.
And why
obviously.
are you happy about him being gunned down like that?
Good question. Charlamagne the God there ripping those seen as...
Fox News anchor being like, good point for Charlamagne the God. Although, I mean, Charlamagne has always been like this. Remember Tommy Lauren or whatever? When he was like, black women need to be more like
Celebrating
her.
the suspect accused of murdering the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson.
He's always been like this.
Some people online casting Luigi Mangione in a positive light as they air their grievances with the industry. Barry Weiss, editor of the Free Press, is here now. Good morning to you. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for having me.
All right. First of all, here is Bernie Sanders talking about some comments that Elizabeth Warren made about this here.
Elizabeth Warren obviously understands killing and murder and shooting somebody in the back is totally unacceptable. But what I think has happened in the last few months is that what you have seen rising up is people's anger at a health insurance.
It is a bit of a good example of the relation between, and this is a much less radical one, I guess, but a relation between like underground movement and state liberal democratic representation
industry
of a like trying to get a similar goal.
It can't be apples to apples in all of this. You guys are
where it's like a different parts of a machine kind of working in tandem.
Right, political violence happens
even though they're not quite working together.
We let it. What the 60s and 70s tell us about Luigi Mangione and the UHZ shooting.
There's no but.
Where's this?
Sorry, what is he referencing there?
What the 60s and 70s tell us about Luigi Mangione and the UHZ shooting.
The 60s and the 70s. What is that what's happening in the 60s and the 70s?
There's no but.
Where's this going?
Well, I think one thing that's important to keep in mind, and that Charles Layman writes about in that piece that you just cited, is to kind of remind...
Is it the Weather Underground? He's referencing how bad the Weather Underground was?
...people that this killing of Brian Thompson is part...
It is funny to think of the 60s and 70s. I guess, like, is it the Black Panthers, too?
...of a pattern of normalized political violence over the past decade or so.
Like, well, I'm trying to think... Okay. It's a part of a pattern of normalized political violence in the past decade or so. By the way, a context in a time in the American context where violence is, like, going down... Like it's getting, I think there was a bump because of COVID, but it still continues to go down. So I wonder in the past decade or so, is that like the militant left maybe is normalizing violence? I'm trying to think of.
You have Steve Scalise, the attempted assassination. You have Gabby Giffords. You have the violent rioting of the...
Steve Scalise, what is that a reference to? Gabby Giffords. There was a lady who was shot? She resigned because of a severe brain injury because of an assassination attempt. Oh, okay. Which is until 2012. I guess what was the motivation for that one? Because that's not a thing people think about all that much. And that was also more than a decade old. It's Arizona Congresswoman, but Scalise was the one who shot at a softball game, and that was a leftist, right? It's just a leftist with very bad aim. It was a Second Amendment thing. That is the weird thing about this. So it's someone who's like entirely like those aren't like a unified. So one of the Gabby Giffords case was about her being opposed to or her wanting to ban some guns. Is it gun restriction? And the baseball shooting was a Bernard brother, yeah, which seemed to be kind of antithetical. The Gifford shooter was more schizophrenic. Oh, he was just nuts? Okay. So those the two examples are entirely disconnected. They're like literally more than a decade apart from people of different political leanings who are both just individuals acting in, the Gabby Gibbons one was just nuts. Okay. Oh, okay, I see. So it wasn't ideological. So that's the normalization of violence, I guess, is those specific instances. And I guess the Trump ones.
BLM, the attempted assassination.
And then Black Lives Matter. Those are the three examples.
Gabby Giffords. You have the violent rioting of the BLM summer that was normalized as fiery but mostly peaceful, unforgettably, by CNN.
But again, it's like, so was anyone did they assassinate any? Like this seems like a different sort of violent normalization, which also stopped being the case. It was the case for like a year or two, and then it stopped.
January 6th, you have the pro-Hamas riots.
The pro-Hamas riots. January 6th, she's just listing events in America that were violent. I guess that is how it works, is that there's like a violence meter, and it goes up and then goes down. And then the pro-Hamas riot, that was really like Luigi Mangione was like, yeah, it's like the we didn't start the fire list.
You have protests regularly now at the homes of Supreme Court.
See, the protest thing is funny because it's like, I don't know if that's like, if people are doing that and then they're like, yeah, I'm going to fucking go kill someone. I'm going to go kill a healthcare CEO.
Or justices. You have even people like a liberal museum curator in Brooklyn whose apartment building was targeted and attacked. Why? Because she's Jewish and therefore a Zionist and therefore unacceptable. My point.
So it's anti-Semitism.
Is that we have normalized an ideology that's...
What is it? It's so funny. An ideology, all of these things are like disconnected. They don't have thought related to them. It's not even encouraging the same type of violence, right? Like there's a bunch of different types of violence in society, some of which are sanctioned by the law, some of which aren't. Oh, sorry, it's top of the hour. Occupying a road and protesting is a form of violence. You're not letting people do things. They can't go on the road. And you're stopping them. You're forcefully stopping them from driving on a road to protest. But like doing that doesn't lead to like more people shooting healthcare CEOs in the back of the head.
Suggests that certain people, because of their identity, because of their jobs, or because of their political
So, I mean, that is like the most insane like anti-Semitic argument to make. Like it like goes back around. I'm so enthused. Thank you for the prime. Where it's like killing like CEOs is basically killing Jewish people. Like the CEO is like Jewish coded.
Look, are somehow ripe and in fact justifiable targets for violence. The very same group of people, Bill and Dana, who like to tell us that silence is violence, are going out and justifying the cold-blooded murder of a father of two. How is that?
I don't like. What is the silence? Oh, because like if you're not speaking up on a thing, you're.
How do you How does that compare?
I don't know. I don't know why that relates to anything. I don't know why that has to.
How do you make sense of that?
How do you make sense of? Yeah, he used a silencer, so I don't know. It seems like it works. I don't know why there's anything to make sense of. Oh, it's a pro-Hamas thing. I'm not sure if there's anything you need to make sense of.
And the only way you make sense of it is if you understand that they are operating from a principle in which certain groups are acceptable targets and other groups.
And Barry Weiss wouldn't think that, of course. Barry Weiss, of course, unless, of course, you know, there's a certain strip in the Middle East that you live in. They may be, you know.
Are.
But other than that, of course, she wouldn't make the assertion.
Are unacceptable ones. Other groups are
Yeah, the list of groups that are unacceptable targets of violence, like Supreme Court justices, white cops, healthcare CEOs. List of acceptable targets. Hospitals.
Protected, and this is kind of a Manichaean view of the world that is absolutely
your schools, refugee camps.
Either political violence is wrong or
apartment
it isn't.
buildings.
What we know for sure is that you cannot have a functioning liberal democracy like the one we have and accept that certain people are allowed to be murdered in the streets of Manhattan.
Well, I guess you should have given people fucking healthcare then. It is this funny, like, circular logic of, like, you're looking at a case where liberal democracy has failed. It's failed to be, it's not functioning. It's failed to function as a release valve for this sort of thing. For anger about lack of representation in terms of incredibly negative effects of privatized healthcare. People are angry about it. You haven't given them a medium through liberal representational politics to express that anger. You don't even get anyone who is in power who's like, we're working on it. We're going to try our best. We're going to use the legal means of the state to, like, get that for you. Both of the parties that have hegemonic control are just like, fuck you. There's nothing, we're not going to do it. And so what do people do, right? They do politics outside of the means of liberal democracy. And so, of course, this is what you get.
Let's put a fine point on it. This is what Charles writes about.
You can't just complain about it. You can't just be like, well, we don't have, like, our liberal democracy, it can't possibly function if people keep doing this. It's like, I mean, that's not the reason why it can't possibly function. That's not the reason. You're looking at a symptom and you're like, well, we just need to treat the symptom. The thing about this is, I am gay. Like, we have this massive fever. We just need to take the medication that lowers the fever and then we're fine. It's like, we really have to target this fever. Rankersoft, thank you. The Vega so makes you think.
Political violence cannot coexist with a functioning democracy.
Yes.
Democracy depends on peaceful liberation, allowing each person to have her say.
Exactly, and that is no longer there's no longer an avenue for people to have their say in relation to
violence
this.
replaces the ballot box with the bullet. If we want the latter, we must be unambiguous in our condemnation of the former. And
I mean, that's just, like,
quotes.
And also, let's wait a second and just find out, like, what really went on with this man.
Right.
The suspected killer. He didn't have United Health Insurance.
Which is such a funny own, where it's like, no, actually, he had a different health insurance.
We hadn't been denied a claim.
But even if he did, right? The idea,
I agree.
Right, it's the idea that I saw this unbelievable tweet that was going viral. Maybe you guys saw it. There was some DJ that had it set over the weekend, and there were just giant flashing photos of Luigi Mangione, and the crowd is going wild for it.
Right.
There's something
actually, I gotta take this.
Very, very
I gotta take this call.
in a culture
I'll be right
where
back.
that has become not just acceptable, but somehow like cool and
So
chic.
how do we turn it around?
We re-stigmatize political violence and we shame, frankly, any person that is trying to contextualize something that there's no context that makes this acceptable. You murdered a person that is the father of two.
People like you
Full
talk
stop.
about.
That's it.
You also wrote about, we had Terry Glavin. I read this over the weekend. The explosion of Jew hate in Trudeau's Canada. The subhead is that there's been a 670% increase in anti-Semitic incidents in the past year. It was like a dam burst. What happened and why? The Free Press investigates. What did you find out?
Wow. What we found out is that it's not so much that the fabric of Canadian civil society has been torn. It's that anti-Semitism has been woven in to the fabric of civil society in Canada. I have to tell you, we have reported, as you guys know, on so many things, so many important stories over the past year. This might be one of the most important and one of the most alarming, because what it shows is the way that anti-Semitic violence, assaults, stigmatization of Jews, stigmatization of Jewish businesses.
I got my new orders from Langley.
Has been completely normalized. I think it will shock most of your viewers that
is an absurdly large emote of Jesus Luigi.
There are a number
or
of
Saint
people
Luigi.
in Canada, not just God Sod, a professor that many people have heard about.
Why is God Sod being talked about in the Luigi Mangione? Why?
Jewish doctors, Jewish professors.
Oh, I see. It's okay. That is like making this about anti-Semitism is crazy. Like that's like
professionals, parents of.
I don't know. I wonder what is the average like right-wing opinion? Oh, she switched to anti-Semitism being really bad in Canada. I imagine like because like the American right is fairly anti-Semitic. Like they loop around to hating Israel for like bad reasons, where it's like and they're doing blood libel, and it's like I don't. Like how much is like the Fox News audience give a shit about this?
Jewish kids that are talking about fleeing Canada.
Yeah, where it's like, I don't know. This feels like there's a very particular audience for this.
Because of the normalization of anti-Semitic violence. And
I don't really think that has anything to do with Luigi Mangione.
The question is, how did this happen? It happened because a group of ideologues have managed to.
It's so funny, the group of ideologues thing. What is Luigi Mangione's ideology? Like, what is it supposed to like?
Convince massive numbers of people and also have taken over critical liberal institutions in Canada and have put forward.
Oh, have we switched topics? Oh, okay. On the rise through Canada. I guess I'm called a Marxist. That was the thing I was seeing on Blue Sky, like the like right-wing reply guys were saying he was like a communist or whatever. Oh, is there a raid? Did I miss a raid? No Justice M2G, thank you for the raid. I think I missed it. It is, I will say, the right-wing reply guys on Blue Sky are especially funny. I think I've talked about this before. Like I had this post because I was just thinking about Andor, as one does sometimes. How much I love the Imperial Intelligence Bureau or whatever. ISB, was that the acronym? But then some like MAGA guy replied, but Democrats like bureaucracy, like he spelled it wrong. Like they're just like so much more sad, because like as far as I'm aware, you really didn't get like libs. Like when there was an exodus of right-wing accounts from like Twitter and stuff after January 6th. You really didn't get like libs. And I'll give it. Bureaucracy is a hard word to spell. You didn't really get libs like going to the alt media places to be like, actually Donald Trump lost. Like, cope about it. And the ones who did were probably. I don't think so. I really don't believe that was the case. It is like the saddest group of people that will make this jump of like, I have to go over to like rub it in that Trump won because I don't have anything going on in my life. It was the thing I said before about like how like ranked competitive transphobia like doesn't really hit that hard, because it's someone who's like so dedicated to like owning trans people online that it's like clearly your life is not in a good place. Like clearly this is not good for you. This is not like things aren't going well for you. I saw someone who made like a song And they filmed themselves like with the piano, and the thing was like, "You'll never be a woman." And it was the exact sort of guy you would expect, where it's like, nothing you can say to me works. You're not doing well in your life. That's very clear. It's demonstrated by your actions. I just think it's funny. But for the most part, the MAGA reply guys have been like that. And the thing is like they respond negatively to just being laughed at, which is really like, it's the weird thing. It's the thing everyone lost their mind about, because I still have this pinned because it's taken 1 billion years for me to do a new newsletter. The thing about how the right loses their minds about being called weird because it's like it's like they're being bullied on the playground. They're not contextualized as being like feared, because when they're contextualized as being feared, they feel powerful. They feel like they have a say in their lives and a control over the world, or some part of the world. It gives them a reassurance about that. But like when they're laughed at, that doesn't work. They feel like they're lame, that they're in the bottom of the social world. And I got a bunch of people replying angry shit about this when I was like after Trump won, about like, isn't it so funny that they used to think this? Like they're under the impression that perception of those sort of weirdos is no longer the case. Like they want to cope it away out of existence, which I think is interesting because people switched a lot. They switched from doing the weird thing to doing the "I'm afraid of you" thing. Like, and so the right loses having to see that. They have to pretend like it isn't a. And then the extra negative component, like people think it's like I'm talking about Dem strategy, where it's like you still lost even though you call this weird. It's like I don't really. First, they barely use that. They use it a little bit, then they threw it away. But second, that doesn't really have an effect on like the fact that grocery prices have raised a bunch in the last 4 years. Like I'm not a Democrat strategist. I'm not giving them advice on how to run their campaign. I'm telling you about a quirk of conservatives. And yeah, my favorite, I think I've said this before. I will say it again because I find it so wonderful. Is when someone will read something like this that doesn't have particularly many big, like, or any really like big words. Like all these words are something that you should know what they are. I don't think I'm using any like, will they'll call it word salad? Like this paragraph is word salad. Because it shows that they just don't understand what I'm trying to say, I guess. I got a couple of those. I guess Nietzschean. I guess so. They say like it's not. I think it's great. I do not live in a Greek restaurant lobby. Thank you. Also, you should subscribe if you like articulation is 5 syllables. I guess so. But it's not even like I didn't throw in any like. Sometimes you see a word and it's like I want to check what that is. Inversion of their natural order, articulation of Nietzschean slave morality, where the last shall be first and the first shall be last. I guess someone might not know what Nietzschean slave morality means. I don't think I don't think I do either. It's just it's funny. Like you'll see this. You'll see this sometimes. The right loves doing it, especially. Where they're just saying they don't understand a thing. But if they don't understand it, it must mean nothing. Anyways. People can only read a 7th grade level? I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people. Maybe honestly, that's a funnier one, is they're not using the term word salad correctly. Because I guess it could be like a hyperbole. But still, it's like, I'm confused about this. It must have no meaning. Because the meaning makes sense. Like, the meaning is pretty intelligible. Even if you disagree with it, it's like, it's a thing that makes sense. You're too book build. I'm too much of a word cell. Anyways. What else is going on? We got Hawk 2. I might actually call it early today. We'll be back soon. But I got a thing I'm doing later. You should join me the Discord. It'll ping you when I go live. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter. I'm mainly on Blue Sky now. Is it actually like the links are actually not deboosted? Which is like such an absurdly important reason to use a site. Is you can actually get like, I don't know, it's apparently Elon isn't the only one who does this. Like other social media sites do this as well, but they'll deboost links. I don't know why. It's so silly. Anyways. Go stream with Julian. I feel like Julian hasn't been streaming that much lately. How do I drew again? Sure. Rue and Josh. Okay, it's in Germantum if you're... I'll be back at some point. I guess maximize time on site. That makes sense. That makes sense as the reason. Thanks to the opposite of clicks. I guess so. Okay, goodbye.